Hello, and welcome back to the Lorna Whiston Schools podcast, the place where we connect with parents from around the globe to share our experiences on a variety of topics. We are a leading school and have been based in Singapore for over 40 years. We specialize in developing a lifelong love for learning, and our focus is on working with our parents to develop their children's 21st century skills, transforming them into the talented critical thinkers of tomorrow. I'm your host, Marie Kutsia, Head of Speech and Drama at Lorna Whiston Schools, and I'm delighted to have as guest Miss Pamposh Dar, who is a coach, counselor, trainer, Reiki master, meditation teacher, and IAL certified adult trainer. Welcome, Pamposh.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So today we will be talking about the importance of achieving emotional balance. And I think this is such an important topic, especially nowadays with the pandemic going on. We're stuck in lockdowns around the world, and it can really affect us in many, many ways. But before we get into the details, can you please share a little bit more about yourself and what made you interested in being a meditation teacher?
To be honest, I actually became a meditation teacher almost by accident, by chance. Let me backtrack a little bit. I started my career as a journalist, and I worked in India and Malaysia for a couple of news agencies. And at some point, I switched to working for development agencies, mainly in public communication, also in women's development and training a little bit. But my main focus was public communication. So I was still writing, editing, and so on. And in 2007, I was working for the Asian Development Bank in Manila. But in the meantime, I had learned meditation just for myself. I'd learned from a few different teachers and different styles of meditation. I had also learned energy healing, and all this for myself and a little bit the healing part for my friends as well. But I never thought it would become my profession. But by 2007, that pull to change professions, to change my line of work was growing ever stronger. So I actually set up a weekend practice while I was still working for ADB from Monday to Friday. At the weekends, I started counseling and healing, but I wasn't doing meditation yet. So this was a conscious choice to do more counseling, healing, and so on. But meditation was not. Meditation happened sort of by the way, because I advised some of my clients to meditate, to release stress and be calmer and happier. And 3 of them said to me, well, I've tried and I can't. I'm unable to meditate. So I thought, this is, I can't believe this. Everyone can meditate. So that's how I started teaching. So I said, okay, come on, I'll teach you. And they all learned, of course. It's just that they had put too much pressure on themselves initially and tried to learn the most advanced techniques of meditation. But you start at the beginning. You don't start with the advanced learning, I think. So that was the issue. But that's when I realized that there are a lot of people around the world who believe they can't meditate. They may even have tried it once or twice and given up. And that I thought was really sad, because it's something that can help all of us. So then I added meditation to my weekend practice. And the following year, in 2008, I resigned from my day job so that this would become my day job. So this is what I do now: meditation, healing, counseling, and coaching. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, but definitely meditation, I think it's something that takes a while for you to get used to, because our minds are so focused, like, oh, we need to be busy constantly. And then when you want to give your mind that break, it's very difficult. And then you're like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And people then give up. But it's really something, like you said, start from the beginning. And it's something that then builds up, and you work on it every week to train your brain ultimately. To give yourself a break and put you in a relaxation state and really taking care of your mind. But it also says that you're a Reiki master. And so I'm really, really interested about what is Reiki, and can you share a little bit more about that with us? Because we all have heard a lot about meditation. We know yoga, we know these counseling And we know all of those terminologies, but Reiki is not something that's brought up a lot and that is something that we hear about every day. So please share more about that.
So Reiki is basically a form of energy healing, and it's a form of healing through energy transfer. Now, what is this? This energy that we transfer, we can, by the way, we can transfer to ourselves as well. We can heal ourselves, and we can transfer to any living being. So people, animals, plants, anything that has life. And the energy we transfer is universal energy. Reiki is a Japanese word because this practice started in Japan, and it means universal energy. But the energy is not like electricity. It's the energy of life, the energy of the universe, the energy that keeps all of us alive. In India, this energy is called prana in Sanskrit and other Indian languages. It can be correlated to the idea of chi or tsi in Chinese systems. And in Japanese, it's called ki. Unfortunately, there's no equivalent word in English. So it's sometimes translated as life force energy. So what a Reiki practitioner does is to basically access enough of this energy from the universe and channel it. So you're really more of a channel than anything else. Now, if I'm giving you Reiki, for example, it's not that you don't have this energy. If you're alive, you have it. But I'm giving you a boost of this energy. And this is very healing energy. This is the energy that keeps us alive, but it's also the energy that keeps us healthy as well. So when you receive this Reiki energy, you, of course, take in a lot of pure or positive energy, which then pushes out the energy of that's been attached to negative thoughts, emotions, and stress. So I see people losing a lot of their stress through Reiki. It also removes energy blockages that cause physical problems. But it's not like medicine. So if you come to me with a physical problem, I'm not going to sit and diagnose you and then work out a treatment. I'm just going to channel the energy to you and let the energy do its work. But I've seen some really amazing results. And if I may, I'd just like to share why I got into Reiki. My mother was very, very ill. And I was actually living in Hong Kong and she was in New Delhi in India. And I went there because she was so ill to be with her. And she needed surgery. But before she could have her surgery, someone started doing Reiki for her. And in 3 or 4 days, she was absolutely fine. So at that stage, I didn't believe in the possibility of Reiki. But when I saw the result, I was really intrigued. And that's what brought me into Reiki. So it's quite amazing at times. Yeah.
That really does sound wonderful. And is it something like meditation that you have to practice, or is it something that I can come to you for one time and you will be able to channel the energies, or is it like a journey that I need to go on?
It's not like meditation in the sense that you are more passive as a receiver. I mean, of course, if you're more open to it, it helps. And then ultimately, your body and your mind are going to make the best use of that energy. But you're not doing it along with me. So I usually ask people to lie down. I have a sort of like a massage table, and then I channel the energy to them. How many sessions depends on what it is you may be struggling with, how intense that problem is, and how entrenched. So a lot of it is emotional. In fact, as a healer, I believe that all physical conditions also have mental or emotional root causes. So if it's something you've held on to since you were a little child, for example, it's going to take some sessions, maybe 6 sessions or more. But if it's something less intense, less entrenched, then it could be a single session or 3 sessions. I really don't prescribe. I just let people decide how many sessions they feel they want.
Yes. Now, it's really, I think, in today's life, especially like I've mentioned earlier, with the pandemic going on, we are under immense stress. Like you said, how stress can actually affect your body and how these are all actually all in line with each other. And our physical, our mental, and our spiritual well being is all interconnected. And so, with all these additional pressures placed on our students as well in life, with their assessments, their exams, friendships, why do you think is it so important for our students to know how to have emotional balance? And how soon can one start practicing meditation or go for Reiki? Is it something that is only meant for adults when we enter work life, or is it something for younger kids in school that also can practice meditation?
Well, I've taught meditation to children 6 years and above. So I think they can start quite early. The way I teach children is different from the way I teach adults, obviously. As for Reiki, my youngest client was 4 years old and he dislocated his shoulder. And that's why his mother brought him to me. So there isn't a minimum age. Actually, I'm wrong. My youngest client was, I think, 1 or 2 years old. He was a friend's son, so he wasn't a paying client,
Wow.
but yeah, so you can do Reiki at any age. I've also done Reiki for pregnant women, and I believe it actually helps the child as well. I've had 2 or 3 women learn Reiki from me when they were pregnant, and they've all had really peaceful children. So I think, there's no minimum age for Reiki. For meditation, because the child also has to practice, has to do what you suggest. I generally wait till they're 6, but one can try even sooner.
Mm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so
So from the age of 6, they start to grasp the importance of it. They know how to do it, and they can actually benefit a little bit more from it. Do you think? Um,
oh, they can benefit a lot. They can benefit a lot because I used to teach a mindfulness program. I use the words interchangeably because all mindfulness practice is meditative and all meditation is mindful. So I used to do a program for young children, 6 to 8 years old. And there was a 6-year-old girl who said on the first day, I want to learn to manage my anger. So, children are really under a lot of pressure these days. Apart from everything you mentioned, I think the internet also sometimes brings its own pressures, maybe at a slightly older age. But yeah, the good thing is that children are also remarkably aware of their own emotions at times and very articulate. But it can help. And through the program, I would get them to practice even when they weren't in class, but they would come back and tell me how many times they practiced. It was a weekly program. So in the week, I gave them a little chart saying, tick every day when you practice. And they did. And they did tell me how it helped them. So yes, it can help. The only thing is that you have to design it for children. You can't ask a child, a 6-year-old or even a 12-year-old, to just sit quietly for half an hour doing nothing. I think
no,
that's too much. Yeah. So you have to,
definitely not.
yeah. You have to break it up into smaller bites, make it more interesting. I do a lot of visualization with children because they have very active imaginations.
Yes,
So
definitely. Oh, that's really wonderful. And I think it's so important, yes, to start them from a really young age to understand the importance of that balance. And so, what are some simple strategies or techniques that you use or that you can give our audience that they can practice with their kids at home, perhaps, to help them to become more balanced, to become more self aware?
I think it depends a little bit on the parents. So, for example, I was born in India, and in India, a lot of parents do quite regular meditation with their kids. And sometimes they do a mantra meditation, a chant and so on. But if I'm advising people in general all over the world, then I would say I think the easiest, the simplest is breath focused meditation, something the family can do together, something the children can even take on their own. So just focusing on your breath, slowing down your breath, because when you slow down your breath, you slow down everything. And that's a sort of a relaxation response in the body and the mind. So just deep, slow breathing, and bringing your attention to the breath. So, even as I'm talking about it, I can feel my voice,
I feel calmer already.
So I think that is the simplest form. If the parents themselves are new to meditation, take a deep breath in, slow and deep, taking it down to your stomach or even your belly, and then slowly releasing the breath. And in the second step, you close your eyes and you put your attention on that breath. It's not necessary to close your eyes, by the way, but it helps to turn the attention inwards. Why I'm saying that is that some children don't like to, and that's okay. So then ask them to just lower the gaze so they don't get distracted. And then what I generally say, even with adults, is just feel the air you're breathing. And that's a good way an easy way to bring your focus to your breath. Feel that air moving through your body as you breathe slowly in and slowly out. Another trick, if I can call it that, in a good way, is to count slowly. If the parents are doing it, then they can probably do that quite easily. So you breathe into a slow count of, let's say, 4. Can be longer, but 4 is enough. And then you slowly breathe out to another slow count of 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. So you are actually learning to master your breath to the extent that one can. And it's going to bring a lot of calmness. Yeah. So this is the most basic technique and the most basic practice that you can do. And just focus more and more on your breath so that you take your focus away from other things, from your own thoughts as well. But don't put too much pressure on yourself or your children. It takes time to get to that point where you're not thinking of anything else. But even the slow breathing will help, even if you're thinking of other things as well. When I ask children to do it, I ask them to say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, or 1 butterfly, something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, no. And they're like, and they're like, no, you're going to pass out. You need to go slowly.
Exactly. So you don't have to say this out loud, of course. You're counting internally.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought I should clarify that.
No, I really, yes, especially with the kids, they want to do it so fast and they're like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this. Because they're so competitive as well. But this is actually the opposite. This is the slower you do it, the better, because you need to go into that state of relaxation. And I really like what you mentioned earlier is like what the parents can do with their kids and make this a family activity at the end of the day, where parents can admit to their kids, I had a busy day. The kids can talk about their busy days and we can get together and we can actually talk about it and then make some time to become more mindful, more self-aware. And this ultimately will, I think, make you more grateful as well and bond you as a family, taking this time out to really find that calmness and that purpose, that we forget in today's fast life when things just go at like such a fast pace. To achieve different levels in meditation, and if you're sitting with your child or you're teaching your child to do it by themselves, how many times a week do you suggest parents or children perform meditation? Is it a daily thing that you think they should be doing, or do you think they can start out perhaps with once a week? What would you recommend?
My personal preference would be for a daily practice. And if it's daily, you can make it a shorter practice. It doesn't have to be very long, maybe only 15 to 20 minutes. But if that's too difficult to begin with, then weekly is also okay. But in that case, I would suggest make it like maybe 1 hour a week. Not one long meditation, that'll be too much for some adults as well, and definitely for children. But you can do 3 or 4 separate practices. You can add any other practices like you like. For example, maybe just counting, a gratitude practice, counting your blessings, and whichever way you want to call it. So that makes it a little easier for children, because in between they can talk and think a little bit, but they're thinking of something good. But yeah, so if it's weekly, I would say make it longer. If it's daily, you can keep it fairly short. But the most important thing is that it should be a regular practice. So don't just keep skipping days or weeks,
Mm.
especially if it's weekly,
Yeah.
I usually recommend that people create a new habit of meditation. So even if you're doing it weekly, do it on the same day of the week, every week, as far as possible, and at more or less the same time. If you can even create a little bit of a meditation space in your home somewhere, that will be nice, because when you go and sit in that space, your mind will start to automatically associate it with meditation and will think meditation.
Mm.
So create some kind of routine. You can even add, some really positive energy to this space, maybe a plant or a water feature or something,
Like
whatever.
a little safe space in your home where you know this is your time out, where you focus on you.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. I think that's a great idea. I really think, taking care of yourself, not just physically going to the gym, but actually going into your own safe space where you take care of your mind and, thinking about your day and
You know,
just taking the time out.
yeah. We are all taught as children, we've all been taught physical hygiene. And now, even as adults, because of COVID, we are relearning that. But we are seldom taught emotional hygiene. What are the feelings that you want more of in your life? Maybe peace, calmness. Okay, peace is a big word for children, but some calmness, some happiness, just joy. And what do you want less of? Do you want less anger, less stress? So I think we need to start thinking of emotional hygiene. I should say this is not a phrase that I've made up. I've learned this from the Dalai Lama, who talks quite a lot about emotional hygiene these days.
100% agree with you. I really think that this is such an important topic that more people need to talk about and more people need to get comfortable with, because there's so much more to us as human beings than just working, achieving what we set out to achieve for ourselves, financially, academically, or whatever we want to do, but actually achieving mental clarity and mental balance is so, so important for us. And I think also if you have that mental balance, that you will ultimately achieve success in life, no
Yeah,
matter what you set out, because you will be mentally strong to tackle all the obstacles that life throws at you and how to manage it and how to really work through things
absolutely. Absolutely.
in a healthy way. So, talking about the pressures of life and recently with the pandemic, now, have you seen an increase in people interested in meditation recently?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, when I realized the full import of the pandemic last year, I started a free weekly meditation, guided meditation, and I have, I think, 45 regulars now, which is quite a nice number, and more people joining, because people who are in the group then say, "Oh, my friend wants to join, or my husband wants to join," and so on. So definitely a much quite an increase in those interested in meditation.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really important. I'm so happy to hear that it's a growing number and people are becoming more aware and more focused on themselves. So I would like to know, do you have any final words of advice for our listeners? Anything for them to take home to think about, or something to push them in the right direction in understanding how important meditation can be for themselves and for their family?
Yes, I think meditation can make everybody happier than they are. Whether they're sad or happy already, doesn't matter. It will make you even happier. If you have a lot of stress in your life, it'll help you release that stress as well. And it'll just make you a calmer person. If you meditate regularly, you will over time become a calmer person who doesn't get upset that easily by whatever life throws at you. I actually want, if you don't mind, I would like to share a couple of thoughts for parents other than meditation.
Yes,
I
please
feel
do.
I feel very strongly that parents should really value their children's emotional health and happiness even more than their academic achievements. Because in the end, life is about being happy more than it is about scores, I think. So I think that should be the starting point, and then the rest will fall into place. And secondly, I think I'm sure you know this because you're in the field of education. children learn from what they see you do and what they hear you say, more than from what you tell them, officially, like when you're trying to teach them something. So model the behavior that you want to see in your children as well. So, for example, do you have any boundaries when it comes to work or not? Or are you always with your phone or whatever it might be? Because your child is going to pick up on that and learn from that. But anything else, whatever you want your child to be, I think it's quite useful if you can model that behavior for your children.
Definitely. I agree 100%. And I definitely think, it is so important for parents to place more emphasis on their child's well-being, not just physically, but also mentally, and to teach them how to be resilient. And I really think meditation can help kids and adults be more resilient in life. And like you said, ultimately, if you can find that balance and becoming more self-aware, everything else will fall into place in life. Because when you are happier, when you are more optimistic in life, you are more likely to achieve success because you won't be put down by any obstacles. You will learn how to keep going, how to get up and face another day and face another challenge, and know that this is all part of the journey in life and how we ultimately get to our goal. And I'm so happy that we could have had this conversation today. And I really hope that this has helped our listeners as well in understanding a little bit more about how this can benefit them in their life and how they can learn more from just taking out 5 minutes every day and focus on yourself. And you can really meditate, I think, anywhere. I've meditated on a bus before.
The breath is always with you, right?
Exactly.
So yeah,
exactly. So there's been times where I was running around and I realized, oh my goodness, I'm not breathing. And it's just stopping, making a conscious decision of like, okay, stop. I need 5 seconds. Breathe. And then you go on from there. But it's just being really self-aware of yourself and your surroundings. And thank you so much for your time as well, Pamposh.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me on this podcast.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Pamposh, and sharing a little bit more about meditation, the importance of it, and the positive effects it can have on one's life. And our listeners out there, we hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed hosting it. So please remember to share any questions you might have for us, or share an encouraging story about how you or your child or both of you are taking action to ensure emotional balance in your own life. Sharing your story will definitely also help our community out there so that we can have this conversation together. So please remember to listen out for our next podcast.